Chapter 1. The Rut, the Rescue. Adrian Vale was used to high-stakes situations. Courtrooms that felt like battlegrounds, rival attorneys who'd sell their souls to see him fail, and corporate monsters who tried to silence him with bribes or threats. It was all just Tuesday for him. But nothing, absolutely nothing, was as annoying, humiliating, and downright dangerous as Rut. Currently, he was sitting in his city office late at night, tie loosened, jacket discarded, tapping his pen against a legal document he couldn't seem to finish reading. His body was already starting to betray him, heat crawling up his neck, instincts screaming for something he had no intention of giving. Not when half the corporate mafia world wanted him dead. Perfect timing, Adrian muttered to himself, sarcasm dripping. Why not throw in a little biological meltdown while hired assassins play target practice with me? He shoved papers into his briefcase and grabbed his coat. There was no choice. He needed to disappear before the Rut fully took over. Adrian had a private cabin far from the city, no phones, no security cameras. He'd ride out the Rut there, alone, safe, and far away from trouble. Or so he thought. The cabin door slammed behind him as Adrian locked himself inside. It was quiet, just how he liked it. He tossed his briefcase on the couch, kicked off his shoes, and poured himself a glass of whiskey. 3 days, he told himself, pacing. 3 days, a lot of cold showers, and I'll be back in court ripping criminals apart. He was almost convincing himself it would work when the sound of crunching gravel outside made him freeze. Adrian's instincts kicked in. He grabbed the handgun he kept in the drawer, heart pounding. A shadow moved across the porch. Bang! The front window shattered. Adrian dropped low just as bullets riddled the cabin. So much for safety, he hissed, firing back. 2 men stormed inside, masked, guns drawn. Even weakened by Rut, Adrian wasn't defenseless. He kicked one hard, sending him crashing into a table, then smashed a bottle over the other's head. But there were too many, more arriving. Knowing he couldn't take them all, Adrian bolted out the back door, running into the woods and toward the city lights. Branches scratched his face, lungs burning, his body screaming for relief from the Rut, even as adrenaline fueled him forward. By the time he stumbled into a dark alley in the city, he was cornered. 6 assassins surrounded him, guns raised. Adrian clenched his fists, body trembling, not just from fear, but from the unrelenting heat making him dizzy. One man stepped closer, a cruel smile on his face, and then silence. The smile vanished as a single gunshot echoed. The assassin dropped. Another tried to react but fell with a neat bullet between the eyes. It was surgical, too precise for chaos. From the shadows, a tall figure emerged. Expensive black suit, gloves, and an aura that made even the most hardened killers freeze. Lucien Morozov. Without breaking stride, Lucien shot 2 more attackers. The last fled. Lucien didn't bother to chase. Instead, he holstered his gun and slowly approached Adrian. Adrian staggered back. Great, the infamous Mafia king himself, just what I needed. Lucien tilted his head, voice smooth as velvet. You're injured. Sharp observation, Adrian snapped, clutching his bleeding arm. His body felt weaker, hotter, his Rut clawing mercilessly. Lucien's eyes glimmered, catching faint moonlight. He stepped closer, and Adrian felt something in the air shift. It was subtle at first, like warmth brushing against his senses. The tension in his muscles loosened involuntarily. Pheromones. Adrian gritted his teeth. Stop that. I'm only trying to calm you, Lucien said softly, voice deep and coaxing. You're in no state to fight. Let me take you somewhere safe. Adrian should have refused. He wanted to, but the Rut was relentless, clouding his thoughts, making Lucien's presence feel like gravity pulling him closer. He barely resisted when Lucien lifted him into strong arms. Adrian cursed weakly but couldn't stop clinging to him as Lucien carried him to a sleek black car. They arrived at Lucien's mansion. Grand gates, marble halls, luxury dripping from every corner. Lucien gently set Adrian on a plush couch, expertly treating his wounds. I don't need your help, Adrian muttered, glaring at him. Lucien smiled faintly. And yet, here you are. Adrian hated how steady and warm Lucien's hands felt as they bandaged his arm. The heat in his body only worsened. Lucien's scent was everywhere. Dark, addictive, pulling at instincts Adrian fought to suppress. He tried pacing to distract himself but stumbled, groaning, every nerve on fire. Damn it! This rut! Lucien's gaze darkened, something primal flickering behind his calm expression. He stepped closer, voice low and deliberate. You're suffering, Adrian. Let me end it. Just say the word, and I'll make it stop. Adrian's pride warred with desperation, but pheromones, exhaustion, and instinct won. With a growl, he grabbed Lucien's collar, teeth clenched. I swear, just do it before I lose my mind. Lucien's victorious smile was hidden as he leaned in, breath warm against Adrian's neck. His fangs sank in, marking him with a bond that would never break. Adrian gasped, trembling, every nerve alight. When it was over, Adrian collapsed against Lucien's chest, dazed and shaking. Lucien held him close, whispering softly against his ear. Finally mine. Chapter 2. Gentleman's Trap. 5 days later, morning sunlight poured through towering glass windows, landing on Adrian's face like an unwelcome alarm. The first thing he registered was silk sheets, not his own. The second thing was a massive king-sized bed so soft it made his spine question every life choice that led him to his worn-out apartment mattress. And the third, unfortunately impossible to miss, was the faint lingering scent of bonding on his neck. Oh, hell no, Adrian groaned, shoving the silk blanket away. His body ached from rut exhaustion, but fury was already simmering. Before he could storm out, the glass doors to the balcony slid open. Lucien Morozov walked in, a vision of effortless menace. Crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up, perfectly pressed slacks, dark hair slicked back, but his expression, gentle, calm, almost apologetic. Good morning, Adrian, Lucien said softly, as if they hadn't shared a primal, life-altering bond these past few nights. Adrian shot him a glare sharp enough to slice through steel. You! Lucien raised an eyebrow. Me? You marked me, Adrian snapped, pointing to his neck. I should sue you for this. Lucien placed a hand over his heart, feigning hurt. Sue me, after I saved you from a dozen assassins and treated your wounds? Saved me? Adrian barked out a laugh, dripping with sarcasm. That's rich. You practically lured me into... He stopped himself, cheeks heating as memories of desperation from last few nights clawed at him simultaneously. Lucien's lips curved slightly, enjoying the power shift, but his tone stayed perfectly calm, warm, almost saintly. Adrian, I'm not going to keep you against your will, Lucien said, stepping closer but leaving enough distance to sound convincing. You're free to leave anytime you want. My home is only meant to be your sanctuary until you're safe. Adrian narrowed his eyes. Every word sounded rational, generous even. Yet something felt wrong. He grabbed his suit jacket, storming toward the door only to be stopped by a tall, suited bodyguard. Adrian glared at Lucien. Free to leave, huh? Lucien's expression remained serenely apologetic. Only until we ensure there's no immediate threat to your life. I would never forgive myself if you were harmed. Adrian muttered curses under his breath, but dropped back into the sofa, defeated. Behind the scenes. Hours later, Lucien stood in his private study, far from Adrian's watchful gaze. His mask of gentle devotion dropped, revealing cold precision. Stacks of surveillance photos, dossiers, and files lay across his desk, all of Adrian Vale. Every case he'd worked, every courtroom victory, every moment Lucien had silently admired him from afar. Lucien traced a finger over a photo of Adrian in court, feral and magnificent as he ripped apart a Mafia lawyer's defense years ago. That was the moment Lucien knew. No one had ever dared challenge his empire like Adrian did, not with bullets, but with sheer intelligence and fire. Watching Adrian stand unshaken, tearing down powerful men, had lit something in Lucien he couldn't extinguish. He had to have him. For years, Lucien quietly protected Adrian from threats Adrian never even knew existed, eliminating dangers before they reached him. And when the rut came this year, Lucien set everything in motion. The bounty on Adrian's head, the staged attack, the perfect rescue, all leading to one truth. Adrian would beg to be marked. And he did. Lucien smiled to himself, pouring a glass of whiskey. Finally mine. And soon he'll realize he's always belonged to me. Building dependence. Over the next few weeks, Lucien played the perfect partner. Every time Adrian tried to handle his legal cases independently, problems mysteriously resolved overnight. A corrupt CEO he was fighting against, arrested before trial. A hacker threatening to expose Adrian's private clients, disappeared without a trace. Court rulings swayed miraculously in Adrian's favor. Adrian suspected Lucien had a hand in it, but Lucien always denied it with that maddening, patient smile. One afternoon, Adrian slammed case files on the table, glaring. Why do my problems keep magically solving themselves? Lucien, lounging on the couch, sipping tea. Perhaps you're just very good at your job. Adrian squinted. You're meddling. Lucien set his cup down, feigning innocence. Meddling? Adrian, please. I'm only ensuring my mate doesn't collapse from overwork. Someone has to care for you since you refuse to. Adrian opened his mouth to argue, but stopped. Lucien had that frustratingly gentle tone again, making it sound like Adrian was the unreasonable one. Family introduction. 1 month later, when Adrian's parents finally visited, Adrian hoped they'd see through Lucien's facade. Instead, they adored him. At dinner, Adrian's father laughed at Lucien's witty anecdotes while his mother clung to Lucien's arm, like he was the son she always dreamed of having. Finally, someone who takes care of you, his mother said, patting Adrian's hand. Someone? Adrian repeated, incredulous. This is Lucien Morozov, head of the damn Mafia. Lucien smiled warmly. I retired from most of that, he lied smoothly. Now I just wish to build a quiet life with Adrian. Adrian nearly choked on his wine. Lucien rubbed soothing circles on his back, like a doting husband. By the end of dinner, Adrian's father shook Lucien's hand firmly. We couldn't have asked for a better son-in-law. Adrian stared at his parents like they'd been brainwashed. Later that night, back in the penthouse, Adrian threw a pillow at Lucien. What the hell did you say to them? Lucien caught it effortlessly, smirking. Nothing but the truth, that I love you more than anything. Adrian scoffed, storming to his room, muttering about manipulation and mafias. Lucien watched him go, a satisfied smile curving his lips. Step by step, my clever alpha. Soon, you'll realize you need me as much as I need you. Chapter 3. The Marriage Deal. The sudden heated argument. Adrian stood in the middle of Lucien's penthouse, pacing like a caged lion. His hands waved dramatically as he ranted, voice sharp with fury. I want this bond annulled. Permanently. I refuse to spend the rest of my life shackled to a manipulative, smug, criminal mastermind. Lucien, lounging in a leather armchair, sipped his espresso with maddening calm. Love, he said gently. You know that's impossible, right? While releasing calm pheromones for him. Adrian threw his hands in the air. Don't you dare use your soothing voices on me right now. Lucien set down his cup and rose with unhurried elegance. You're my mate, permanently marked. There's no annulment, no legal loophole. He stepped closer, lowering his voice like velvet over steel. So, why keep pretending? Let's do this properly. Adrian blinked, suspicious. Properly? Lucien's lips curved into that serene, knowing smile. Marry me. Publicly, legally. It'll make things simpler. No scandals, no endless questions. And you'll finally have a husband who worships you. Adrian scoffed. You mean trap me even further? Before Lucien could respond, Adrian's phone buzzed. It was his mother. Minutes later, Adrian was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at his phone in disbelief as his parents' voices came through speakerphone, excitedly discussing wedding venues with Lucien. Mom, Dad, You're not helping, Adrian protested. Sweetheart, his mother said cheerfully, Lucien is perfect for you. A gentleman, stable, utterly devoted. You'd be a fool not to marry him. Lucien, standing beside Adrian, kissed the top of his head and whispered, See? Even they understand. Adrian glared. You're impossible. Lucien whispered back with a smirk, But I'm yours. The wedding, unsurprisingly, was a grand, luxurious affair. Lavish flowers, glittering chandeliers, hundreds of high-profile guests. Adrian stood in a perfectly tailored white suit, jaw tight as cameras flashed. Lucien, in his black tuxedo, looked like a dark prince out of a fairy tale, smiling softly only for Adrian. When they exchanged vows, Lucien held Adrian's hand a little too tightly, eyes burning with possessive devotion as he murmured, Mine forever. Adrian muttered under his breath, You planned this from day one, didn't you? Lucien's smile widened. Every second. Domestic chaos. Marriage with Lucien was many things. Peaceful wasn't one of them. Stop following me around the house, Adrian yelled one morning, storming through their massive kitchen. Lucien leaned casually against the marble counter, amused. I live here too. You're in my office, my shower, my... Adrian cut himself off, cheeks flushing. Lucien's grin turned wickedly soft. Ah, you mean our bedroom? Adrian threw a dish towel at him. Lucien caught it effortlessly, walked over, and with infuriating gentleness cupped Adrian's cheek. Why fight what we both want, HM? Married couples should enjoy their nights together. Every time Adrian swore he wouldn't give in. Every time Lucien's voice, scent, and warmth wore him down until Adrian ended up clutching his husband's shirt in bed, breathless and furious with himself afterward. Damn manipulative Mafia bastard, Adrian muttered one morning. Lucien, buttoning Adrian's shirt for him, kissed his neck. You're manipulative Mafia bastard. Mafia meetings were no less chaotic. During one, Adrian barged into Lucien's office mid-discussion with his underbosses. You're not laundering money through that company again, Adrian snapped, slamming documents on the desk. Lucien calmly slid the papers aside, ignoring stunned lieutenants. You're adorable when you boss me around. Adrian leaned in close, voice like ice. I'm not adorable. I'm your attorney, and your husband. Which means if you pull this crap, I'll divorce you so hard your empire will... Lucien cut him off with a sudden, searing kiss that left Adrian speechless and flushed. Pulling back, Lucien murmured against his lips. Try leaving me. I dare you, my darling. The lieutenants wisely pretended not to hear anything. Thriller moment. The beast unleashed. One night, Adrian left the mansion to handle a case despite Lucien's warnings. Halfway to the courthouse, a black SUV screeched to a halt beside him. Armed men dragged Adrian into the vehicle. But they didn't get far. Lucien arrived within minutes, driving his own car like a demon unleashed. He rammed the SUV off the road, stepping out like death incarnate. Gunshots rang through the alley as Lucien methodically executed every kidnapper. No hesitation, no mercy. When it was over, Lucien's pristine white shirt was stained crimson. He approached Adrian, trembling in shock. Lucien's dark eyes softened only for him as he gently touched Adrian's face. Did they hurt you? Adrian shook his head, hard hammering. This side of Lucien, ruthless, monstrous, terrified him. Yet he couldn't look away. Lucien pulled him close, whispering like a vow. No one will ever take you from me, ever. For the first time, Adrian didn't argue. Later that night, Lucien guided Adrian to their bedroom. For once, there was no teasing, no power play, only quiet tenderness. Lucien carefully washed blood from his hands, tucked Adrian into bed, and lay beside him, brushing hair from his forehead. You're safe, Lucien murmured. As long as I live, nothing will touch you. Adrian stared at him for a long moment, chest tight. He didn't say it out loud, but some part of him felt comfort. Lucien kissed his forehead softly, closing his eyes with a small, satisfied smile. He knew Adrian's heart was shifting, slowly, inevitably. And Yen would wait forever for him to admit it. Chapter 4. Pregnancy and Realization. 6 months into marriage, and Adrian still woke up every morning wondering how his life spiraled into luxurious chaos. He was now living in a mansion with 40 security cameras, 20 bodyguards, and a husband who wouldn't even let him cross the street without an armored car. Ever since the kidnapping attempt months ago, Lucien had transformed from slightly overprotective Mafia king husband to paranoid lunatic who shadowed Adrian's every breath. Pregnancy reveal. Lucien, I'm going to the courthouse, Adrian snapped one morning, adjusting his tie. Lucien, standing by the door like an immovable statue, shook his head. You're not going alone. Adrian groaned. I'm a lawyer, not a porcelain vase. Lucien's eyes softened, but his voice left no room for argument. You're my life. I won't risk losing you again. Adrian threw his hands up. God, you're impossible. Hours later, feeling dizzy during a trial, Adrian left early and went to a doctor. The verdict? Pregnant. He walked into the mansion that night, paper in hand, prepared to break the news calmly. Instead, Lucien saw the paper, read it once, and nearly collapsed in joy. Lucien cupped Adrian's face, his hands trembling slightly. We're having a baby? Adrian blinked, overwhelmed. Yeah, I guess so. Lucien kissed him fiercely, then immediately barked orders to his staff. The entire west wing of the mansion was cleared for a nursery. The kitchen was banned from serving anything remotely unsafe. 5 additional doctors were put on permanent standby. Bodyguards now shadowed Adrian inside the house, and Lucien panicked every time Adrian so much as sneezed. One night, Adrian found himself surrounded by guards while making tea. What the hell are you all doing here? He snapped. One guard mumbled nervously, Sir, boss said you're not allowed near kettles. Adrian's scream could be heard across the mansion. Family chaos. At dinner with Adrian's parents, Adrian finally exploded. He's treating me like I'm made of glass, Adrian complained, stabbing his steak angrily. There are bodyguards in the bathroom. His mother patted his hand sweetly. He's just taking care of you, darling. I wish your father had been this attentive when I was pregnant with you. Lucien smiled serenely from across the table, sipping tea like the perfect son-in-law. Adrian turned to his father, desperate. Dad, come on. You see how insane this is, right? His father shrugged. Kid, if I had half his devotion to your mother, I wouldn't have spent 2 months on the couch in '94. Lucien reached over to cut Adrian's steak for him. Adrian swatted his hand away, stood up, and stormed off. Lucien calmly took another sip of tea, hiding a smug grin. Step by step, mine forever. The hint of truth. Later that week, Adrian overheard Lucien on the phone in his private study. Yes, eliminate them. No loose ends near my husband or child. Lucien's voice was calm, deadly. I'll handle my darling. He doesn't need to know. Adrian froze outside the door, heart pounding. He didn't know who Lucien was talking about, but the cold ruthlessness sent a chill through him. That night, he confronted Lucien in their bedroom. Who were you ordering to kill, Lucien? Adrian demanded, arms crossed. Lucien's brows furrowed slightly. Adrian. He stepped closer, tone soothing but edged with steel. I would do anything, anything to keep you safe, to protect you and our baby. I won't apologize for that. Adrian wanted to argue, but the weight of Lucien's words hit something deep inside him. This wasn't just overprotectiveness. Lucien's obsession ran bone deep. For reasons Adrian couldn't explain, it didn't feel entirely wrong. Domestic love. Nights became softer. Lucien spent hours in the nursery, carefully assembling furniture himself instead of letting staff handle it. Adrian would find him late at night sitting on the floor, quietly talking to their unborn child. You're going to be strong, like your dad, Lucien whispered once, not noticing Adrian woke up from his sleep and was silently watching him. And brilliant, like your papa. You'll know nothing but love. Adrian's chest ached. When Adrian had nightmares, Lucius Tawaisi woke instantly, pulling him close, whispering gentle reassurances. Every morning, Lucien kissed his forehead, rubbed soothing circles over his back, and murmured how proud he was. Adrian told himself it was just hormones, just comfort, nothing more. But he found himself leaning into Lucien's touch, feeling warmth and safety he never imagined he'd crave. He never said it aloud, but every night as Lucien held him, Adrian's heart whispered the truth he refused to admit. He was starting to love the devil he married. Chapter 5. Forever Bound. 6 months pregnant with twins. Yes, they both got to know later that Adrian is pregnant with twins, and he is still unwilling to slow down. Adrian was back in court, ruthlessly tearing apart another corrupt CEO's defense. Even as his belly strained against his tailored suit, his sharp tongue and deadlier intellect left the opposition trembling. Lucien, watching from the private balcony above, looked calm to the untrained eye. Inside, he was one breath away from locking his beloved husband in a gilded cage until the babies arrived. After court, Lucien draped his coat over Adrian's shoulders. "Home?" he ordered softly. Adrian snorted, stepping into their car. "Relax, Mafia King. I'm fine." Lucien's jaw ticked. "You're 6 months pregnant, with twins, and still trying to single-handedly destroy the underworld." Adrian smirked, hand resting on his bump. "Maybe they'll be proud of their overachieving papa." Lucien kissed Adrian's temple, but said nothing. Deep inside, his instincts screamed that danger was too close than his liking. Mafia threat. That night, while Adrian worked in his home office, alarms blared. Rival Mafia leaders, desperate to break Lucien's empire, launched an attack, one aimed directly at Adrian's stomach. Lucien stormed in, fury radiating off him like heat. "Stay in the panic room," he ordered, voice low and dangerous. Adrian stood, glaring. "Lucien, I'm pregnant, not helpless." Before he could finish, gunfire rattled the windows. Lucien's hand shot out, gripping Adrian's face with uncharacteristic harshness. "You are everything to me," he hissed. "You will not be harmed." Lucien strode out, his men following. The once gentle Mafia King vanished. In his place was a devil unleashed. Adrian, against orders, crept to the balcony and witnessed the carnage below. Lucien was lethal elegance, every shot precise, every opponent cut down without hesitation. Blood slicked his white shirt, his dark eyes merciless. The rival boss screamed threats until Lucien shot him point blank, spattering crimson across marble. When the courtyard fell silent, Lucien stood alone amidst bodies, breathing hard, a devil protecting his kingdom and his beloved Alpha. Twisted love. Confession of the enigma. Lucien climbed the stairs slowly, blood dripping from his gloves. Adrian waited in the hall, eyes wide but unflinching. Lucien dropped to his knees before Adrian, head bowed, voice trembling with fierce devotion. "You are my love, my comfort, my obsession, my home," Lucien confessed, looking up with bloodied hands gripping Adrian's hips. "If anyone dares to take you away from me, I will kill them mercilessly. Because you're mine. You always have been. And you always will be." Adrian's throat tightened. Lucien wasn't lying. His obsession burned too raw, too real, and he got the proof of it again that night. And for the first time, Adrian didn't feel trapped. He felt chosen, desired beyond reason. Adrian's choice. Adrian cupped Lucien's blood-streaked face, thumb brushing his cheek gently. "You're terrifying," he whispered. Lucien's breath hitched, fear flickering for the first time. Adrian leaned down, pressing a soft kiss to Lucien's lips for the first time willingly, taking the initiative first. "But you're mine too. And I want this, want you, our family, everything. No more running." Lucis while Cayenne froze, disbelief shadowing his face before pure, overwhelming relief shattered his composure. He buried his face in Adrian's stomach, whispering to their unborn children, "Papa's staying. Papa's finally ours." 3 months later, chaos reigned in the Morozov mansion. Twin babies, Leo, the enigma, and Isla, female alpha, screamed in harmony as Adrian tried to juggle feeding bottles. Lucien entered the nursery with a stack of documents, balancing Mafia ledgers in one arm and Isla in the other. "The Russians are threatening territory again," Lucien said calmly, kissing his daughter's forehead, who was looking at her dad, with her big eyes curiously. Adrian arched a brow and gently adjusted their baby Leo in his arms, who is seconds away from sleeping. "You're holding our baby girl while discussing mob wars." Lucien smiled, utterly unbothered. "Multitasking." Adrian rolled his eyes, handing Leo to him too. "You're still a devil." Lucien kissed Adrian slowly, deliberately, his voice low and reverent. "Your devil, forever." Weeks later, Adrian, now back in court, victorious as ever, glanced up at the private gallery. Lucien sat there with Leo and Isla in his lap, glaring death at anyone who looked Adrian's way for too long. Adrian smiled faintly to himself. Life was chaotic, bloody, and morally gray. But it was theirs.